Ladies and gentlemen, very good day from New Delhi. My name is Robert Luck. I'm the Austrian Trade Commissioner here in the capital of India. Water, ladies and gentlemen, is considered as the most basic commodity of mankind, and 40% of the global population is affected by water shortages. India, as one of the most populated countries in the world, of course, is also affected by the supply of water. One of the government think tanks, NITI Aayog, considered that 20 major Indian cities are in danger of running out of groundwater. And 3/4 of Indian districts, 640 million people, are hotspots, future hotspots of water scarcity. Welcome to our webinar, Water and Wastewater in India. We would like to talk about the various aspects India has to consider to this in this very, very important topic. Before I would run you very quickly to what expects you the next 60 to 90 minutes or so, I just would like to spare and give you an overview about what we are doing here and how we are working. This is a little bit too fast. We are Advantage Austria, New Delhi, as I mentioned, is our head office, and we have offices, regional offices in Mumbai and Bangalore. Bangalore is taken care of by Mr. Sampath Kumar. He is the director for South India, and Mr. Ramesh Kalnawat in our Mumbai office. So Mr. Sampath Kumar is in Bangalore and Mr. Ramesh Kalnawat is in Mumbai. Over 700 Austrian companies are doing regular business in India, and so far we have 150 Austrian subsidiaries in India, and the number has been growing over the last couple of years, fortunately. And India is the 26th largest export destination for Austria. I would like now to run you very quickly through the program. We will start with our industry expert, Mr. Amritpal Singh, who will give you an overview about water and wastewater in India, a general idea. And then we will move on with Mr. Bhardwaj from the former additional director from the Central Pollution Control Board. Then we continue with Mr. Arun Lakhani, managing director of Vishwaraj in environment. He will tell you also about, most importantly, about the business opportunities you can expect here in India. We have one technical glitch, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker, Mr. Amritpal Singh, unfortunately, his camera had some problems, but of course his PowerPoint presentation you can see. PowerPoint presentation, you will see lots of slides, but you don't have to worry. We will make these presentations available to you after the seminar, and also the entire seminar will be recorded and will be made available for you on YouTube. We of course are looking forward to all your questions you may ask during the presentations in the chat functions, and we will try to cover, of course, and answer all of them in our Q&A session. Should this not be possible, then of course we will answer these questions directly to you by email. Yes, I think without further ado, I think we can start now with the presentation from Mr. Amritpal Singh about water and wastewater in India. Mr. Singh, please, you have the floor and you can start your presentation. Thank you.
I'm handling the sector of environment in India for Austria. Next, we'll take an overview on the water and wastewater in India. We have to understand the background for urbanization. 1/3 of Indian population lives in cities in India, and 2/3 of national GDP comes from urban India. So one can see how important Indian cities are for national GDP. There are about 8,000 cities and towns in India. We have mega cities like Delhi with 30 million, Mumbai with 24 million, and Kolkata with 16 million people. And every minute for next 20 years, 30 Indians will migrate to cities in search of better job opportunities in the cities. And it's estimated that by 2050, 70% of India will be living in cities. Now, the challenges for the urban local bodies or municipalities in India, demand for services is much more than the capacity to service. Water supply either is not available or is intermittent, and there is a high level of water loss. And we can also say water theft, excessive groundwater extraction, high water consumption levels, inadequate wastewater collection, and there's a widening gap between sewage generation and treatment. Project implementation is delayed. Private sector participation in this area is quite low, and lack of financial autonomy and technical expertise with the municipalities in India as of now. The status of waste and water in India: solid waste management, 145 million tons per day of waste is generated, and out of which only 60% is processed. In the water supply in the class 1 and 2 cities, class 2 cities, just to clarify here, class 1 cities are towns in India which have population of 100,000 or more, and class 2 cities are towns with population of 50 to 100,000 people. So water supply to these class 1 and class 2 cities in 2014 was 62,300 million liters a day, which increased to 103,000 MLD in 2018. Similarly, sewage generation was 49,800 MLD in 2014, which increased to 94,400 MLD in 2018. However, sewage treatment, which was 23,270 MLD in 2014, has only increased 26,070 MLD. So you can see the gap between the supply and the process is increasing very fast. To cope up with the present and future growth in the cities and the increasing demand for services, the government has come out with certain initiatives. First one and foremost is Smart Cities Mission, which was started in 2015. Amrut was started in 2015 June. Namami Gange, which is a Ganges cleaning program, was started in May 2015. Swachh Bharat Mission was started in October 2014, and Jal Jeevan Mission was launched recently in 2019. Next, we'll see a little bit more details about these initiatives. Smart City Mission focuses on mobility, solid waste management, water supply, sanitation, and IT and technical services for 100 cities. These 100 cities are supposed to be role models for further cities in the future. In the Smart City Mission, 2,529 projects worth 419 billion rupees have been completed. 5,060 projects worth 1,424 billion rupees are in process. And these projects are from all the sectors: mobility, solid waste management, water supply, sanitation, and IT and control centers. In Amrut, which focuses on water supply and sanitation, also green spaces in cities. It's a 5-year mission for 500 cities. rupees 390 billion has been allocated for water so far, and 325 billion rupees have been allocated for sewerage under Amrut so far. Then we have a Jal Jeevan mission, which is the mission which aims to ensure access of piped water for every household in India by 2024. Initially, the project has been started for only for rural areas, which will be extended to urban areas in a few years. So far, 390 billion rupees have been allocated, and as per government data, 38.7% taps connections have already been provided. Next is Namami Gange, which is Clean Ganga mission. Around 37% of India's people lives in towns and villages along the Ganges and depend on it for drinking water, irrigation, and livelihood. The focus of this mission is to rejuvenation of Ganga through sewerage infrastructure in 11 states. 341 projects worth 283 billion rupees have been sanctioned, and out of these 147 projects are completed while 159 projects are in process. Similarly, for Swachh Bharat Mission Urban, focus is on toilets, waste collection, waste to energy, and waste to compost. 140 billion funds have been allocated, and 83 billion out of it has been used till January 19. Under Swachh Bharat Mission Urban, 6.25 million toilets have been constructed, and as per government data, 95% wards in the country are collecting 100% door-to-door waste. 58% of the total urban waste is also properly being processed. Coming to water and industries, major water consuming industries in India are food, chemical, textile, and then power and pharmaceuticals. It is estimated that every day about 6.2 billion liters of industrial wastewater is generated in India. And estimates further say that 90% of it is untreated. And according to some estimates, 250 million liters of industrial effluents are poured into Ganga every day. And with that, we see that some of the major players in India which are operating in the sector of water and wastewater are Indian Hume Pipe Company Limited, which is working in both water and wastewater. Larsen and Toubro, again water and wastewater. Hindustan Construction Company Limited, water supply. VA Tech Wabag Limited, it's water desalination and waste. Veolia Water India Private Limited, water and waste. Vishwaraj Infrastructure, water and waste. We'll hear more from them very soon. Ramki Infrastructure Limited, water and waste. Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to invite Mr. R.M. Bhardwaj. He's former Addition Director, Central Pollution Control Board, and presently working as a consultant with Namami Gange to give his views on water pollution and potential areas for intervention. Mr. Bhardwaj, please.
So we are talking about the water pollution and potential areas for intervention in India. Yeah, actually in India, we have a setup of legislations which are controlling the wastewater, its management and related issues. We have the coverage in the same act on the water quality management and its impacts, again to identify the sources of pollution, and there are potential areas to identify for technological interventions. Next, please. The Indian Parliament in 1974 enacted Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, and this was amended time to time over the years, and this was the first environmental act in the India to prevent and control pollution and to bring discipline in the use of water and the wastewater with specified norms and further regulations. The another act, which was an umbrella act, referred as the Environment Protection Act, was passed again by the Indian Parliament in 1986, which covers not only the water It covers the air as well as the hazardous substances and large number of issues which are impacting the environment. Yeah, when we talk of water quality issues and impacts, how water gets deteriorated, certainly we understand that the municipal areas, municipal bodies, urban centers discharge wastewater that leads to the water bodies. This is one source. The other source is the industrial effluents and perhaps invisible non-point sources, which are the runoffs from the watershed. So these sources basically impact the lotic and lentic water resources. If I clearly say that they are the lakes and the rivers. So eutrophication is largely because of excess carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus discharge in the water bodies led to eutrophication. Pathogenic pollution, certainly when we find that the waste is not getting treated and disinfected. Another issue is the environmental flows. The flows are not maintained throughout the year wherever the rivers are dammed or the barrages are erected along it. We understand the monsoon or the rainfall in India is not throughout the year. It is restricted to 3 months period. That too again, a low intensity rainfall occur in many areas. So there are always issues with the flows. Groundwater, again, we have specific issues which are perhaps throughout the world. The fluorides, nitrates, arsenic, high salinity, and contaminated soils because of disposal of industrial waste and allied dumpings. Yeah, in fact, the Central Pollution Control Board is a statutory body of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change from Government of India side, is regularly assessing the wastewater generation from the urban centers. And these assessments are largely the estimates. They are not the factual figures, but they are very closely linked with the municipal population growth and the facilities developed over the years. And there are perhaps in this graph, we have a trend from 1978 till 2015. There was another assessment in 2021. And what we have kind of projections for 2051, by the time the population of the country is going to stabilize. So certainly we are going to have over 100,000 million liters per day of municipal sewage. And certainly we have to see that what kind of policies and the strategies have to be adopted for bridging the gap where we have the wastewater generation and there are large gaps in the sewage treatment. Yeah, well, this is the status which have been updated for the year 2021, again by Central Pollution Control Board. Herein, the sewage generation is estimated again as 72,000 MLD, and against that we see around 44% is the sewage treatment capacity. Now, when we talk of the capacity, this indicates us about the sewage treatment plants who can receive this much amount of sewage and treat based on the retention of sewage in the plant for a particular time. Now, against this capacity, we always see there are non-functional sewage treatment plants. So the operational capacity is coming down to 84%. And basically, this is again the operational capacity, not the actual treatment. Now, when we come to the figures of actual treatment, so therein it is again further 75% only is the capacity utilization. So if we really see, we are approximately treating about 25% of the sewage generation in the country. Now, we all know that there are reasons, the lack of infrastructure, and maybe the growing population, and there are competing demands within the country. So wherein the focus cannot be stressed only on the water and wastewater sector, there are many other sectors also. Yeah, when we again come to now the industrial pollution control, perhaps India is still not a industrial powerhouse. We are in the process of growing, developing industries in the country. A large number of industries are still required in the country. Perhaps the major sectors which are impacting our water resources are basically the pulp and paper, wherein despite having technological changes, still there are issues with the black liquor, and perhaps this is one of the major source of water pollution in the rivers. The sugar is another sector because the country grows a huge amount of sugar cane, and sugar is produced. Now, over the years, this sugar demand has reduced to a large extent, and then this resources are now diverted towards production of alcohol. We have large number of distilleries, and still this is going to enhance further because there is now demand for ethanol for the automobile sector, and this demand certainly is saving some kind of foreign exchange when we use the ethanol. Textile used to be one of the biggest employment generator in the country, but over the years now, this sector has limitations, but still, this is one of the sector which is impacting the water sources. Again, coming to the tannery, so the tanneries are certainly one of the sectors which is in the developing countries only, because there are issues when we make the products, and perhaps large number of countries, perhaps in Europe, maybe US and Canada and maybe Japan, etc., are not promoting the tannery sector. So this is one of the sector wherein the wastewater generated has to be addressed. So cause of concern I have already highlighted. Perhaps we may move to the, certainly when we see to the avenues, technological interventions, so the potential areas certainly have been addressed and identified in recent past, wherein we are now looking to the real-time water quality monitoring, including the wastewaters also. We understand there are issues with the operation and maintenance of sewage treatment plants, industrial wastewater treatment plants. So this is one of the sector which is really looking after the technologies. Retrofitting of sewage networks in urban settlements, the older cities certainly are now looking to the rehabilitation of the sewage networks. We understand there are issues in the urban centers wherein sewage collection is a big issue and sewage flows through the drains. So there is avenues for looking after the in situ sewage treatment right in the drains, which is largely referred as the bioremediation. Cost-effective and energy-efficient treatment technologies certainly is the need of the hour. Waste minimization, utilization strategies for small-scale industries, because this is one of the sector which is looking to the technologies. And certainly the R&D is required on instrumentation for continuous monitoring, and perhaps there is always some kind of demand for the new technologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Again, to our viewers and listeners, all the questions can be asked in the chat function at any time. We move on now to our next speaker. It's really a great pleasure to welcome Mr. Arun Lakhani. He's Managing Director and Chairman of Viswaraj Environment. Viswaraj today is the only company in India with ongoing projects in water distribution and wastewater treatment and reuse, that's, I think, very interesting, involved in PPP projects. Most namely, I want to mention one in Nagpur, but also in other parts of this of India. So it's the great pleasure now to give the word to Mr. Arun Lakhani, Chairman and Managing Director of Viswaraj. Mr. Lakhani, you have the floor, please.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity to communicate and speak with the Austrian industry connected to water. The challenge of providing clean, healthy drinking water to a billion-plus population, the task is humongous. But so it offers a very large opportunity. Like my previous speakers have spoken, that there is a lot of work that is to be done in India. India, which was called as Sujalam Sufalam, that is a country with plenty of water and plenty of food. Over a period of decades, the population growth and rapid urbanization has put stress on the resources. Today, although in the smart city, 100 smart cities, almost 62 still have adequate water supply at 130 LPCD. However, the NRW of 50% plus takes away all this water due to technical wastages and leakages. On the sewage side, as Mr. Amritpal Singh and Mr. Bharadwaj has mentioned, over 50,000 million liters per day of untreated sewage we are discharging in the nature, thereby contaminating all our freshwater sources, our rivers, our lakes, our groundwater wells. And the result is that today over 21% diseases are waterborne in India. We lose almost 100 million percentage every year due to the water diseases. Fortunately, the current regime has, in their last era only, recognized this more seriously and have come up with the programs which has been given in detail by Mr. Amritpal Singh. So I will just go through them. So the significant steps taken by this government is that first they collated all the water, because water was handled by different ministries earlier. So the irrigation ministry, so to say, was different, the water and sanitation was different. So they tried to club the whole water world into one ministry. They called it as the Jal Shakti Ministry. And under that, they have launched various programs. A high power committee had estimated quite a decade back that India will need almost $42 billion into urban water and over $37 billion in wastewater sector. Now, with this, in the current programs, we have Namami Gange, around $4.8 billion program, and a very ambitious Jal Jeevan mission. That is, in Hindi, they say Nal Se Jal. So they want every household to have a tap and a fresh, clean drinking water coming through it. So in the first phase of that, they have announced a 41 billion program, which is already underway in many states, and they have they have issued the bids, and they have also allotted the bids in some of the states. Swachh Bharat was another mixed program, which also had sanitation and as a major part of that. And like Amritpal Singh ji has explained, Amrut is more focused on water and wastewater. If we see from the industry point of view, like spoken earlier, this is still a nascent industry in India. Private participation started almost say 8-10 years back or 12 years back. Before that, it was always the government who were doing all the work, and they were the operators. The concept of PPP in the water sector was the first of its kind when we started the Nagpur project, and then we did along with Veolia as a 50-50 joint venture for this project. So I will say relatively, private participation is quite nascent, but increasing very rapidly, as government is also now looking for private investment into water sector after we will say the experiments or the samples of say Nagpur 24/7 or reuse of water. In wastewater, we have the standard, the treatments, aerobic, anaerobic, SBR. There are already companies from Austria providing it here. MBR and any innovative new green technologies. In filtration, of course, the ultrafiltration and microfiltrations are now getting more popular in the urban sewage sector. It was used only in the industrial sector earlier, but nowadays with the reuse of treated water, all these technologies have become relevant in the urban sector. RO desalination, of course, and membranes are required, and there is a huge household market for these membranes in India, because practically every household retreats the water in his own home after they get it from the tap from the municipality, because of the uncertainty about contamination in the pipeline. We treat the water, and our water is very much drinkable when it is at the outlet of our water treatment plant. However, on the path, it can get contaminated due to old infrastructure, old pipelines. Then there are other technologies like biogas generation, methane to bio-CNG, FGD. Solid waste processing is a very big area because we have mountains of the solid waste, and we are still trying to figure out what exactly works for us, because our solid waste has very low calorific value. So that energy production has not really economically worked for us. SCADA and IoT they are getting implemented in a big way, so that the data is collected, and slowly that realization, the importance of the data is seeping in. ZLD government is definitely pushing for ZLD, and some of the industries are following that. But it is still, the cost is a very big constraint from industry point of view here. In the product options, I will say the meters, pumps, valves, we have companies from overseas who have set up production facilities here. And from China, we also get these decanters and this large fabrication work. I'm not sure from Austria, but yes, membranes and filter press, centrifuge, basically the technology products. They have definitely a very large market in India. About the market itself, when we talk about, like I said, most of the water and wastewater market is with government. Hardly it's the beginning for the private sector. In government in India, we have a 3-layer governance under Article 47, which was introduced a decade back. we have a very clear distinctions of the concurrent subjects and the independent subjects. So water, wastewater is a urban local body subject. So like in these three layers, federal and central government, the state government, and the urban local body. The weakest link is urban local body due to lack of funds, lack of capacity, and they are supported by the central government and the state government, funding like Amrut and all these are central government driven, contributed by the state as well. But the face is urban local body. So except few urban bodies which are quite, they have lot of resources, or they have raised bonds and have credibility to raise funds from the market. Most of them have a major challenge. So this is a fact that has to be considered while coming into India and working with urban local body. So what my suggestions will be that we need to factor in possible delays. Somehow that is a fact. It's unwelcome, but that's the truth. If possible, participate with an Indian partner who suits your particular line of business. Cost competitiveness is a major factor. Most of the very good technologies, proven technologies, except in PPP sector, where like if I am saying that I will see the life cycle cost and the benefits coming from a costlier capex with a better long-term lesser opex. But as far as government is concerned, it is always on the lowest price. So that is a challenge to be mitigated there, particularly working with the government. And water as a resource has been a very sensitive subject in the Indian psyche. It is these projects, particularly the distribution projects, are more of a social projects than technical or commercial projects. So what we call as a 4P policy, that we need to onboard the people. We need to communicate with people, making them aware of the benefits of the program, whatever we are going to launch, the difficulties they will face for certain period of time due to this implementation of this program. But this communication is key to succeed in the Indian market, particularly in the distribution water sector. Here are some of the clips that in our Nagpur program that we contacted over 500 school children, over 100,000 school children. And this is a clip when the CEO of the NITI Aayog was visiting one of our slums to interact with people and ask them what changes this 24/7 program has brought to them. I think, this is probably typical to India, but this is something that need to be factored in. About us, we are in this field as an operator since now almost a decade. Currently, we operate 27 water treatment plants across the country, treating over 2,000 million liter water. We are serving almost 39 million people for drinking water. We are operating 15 sewage treatment plants, servicing almost 590 million liter of water. And in the reuse sector, which is first of its kind, so we are already supplying 190 million liter per day to a thermal power station, replacing the fresh water that they were using and getting that fresh water back to the city of Nagpur for drinking. Now it has created a water security for the next 35 years of population growth. So this has a very, multiple bottom lines, apart from environment, apart from health. It is also giving a lot of, big water security. And because we don't want to get into treating the water to the level of drinking and facing still a psychological barrier. It is easy to replace the industry using fresh water with treated water. So that is the first project in a PPP, which has now it's 1 year now we are supplying this water. Another 50 MLD project is underway. By next year, we will start providing water to another thermal power station in a similar way. We of course make bio-CNG and power generation from the methane that is generated in the digester. So we are in the water distribution. We are in the wastewater, sewage treatment plants, tertiary treatment. We also undertake the IoT, SCADA implementations, new technology deployments. We are in the top 50 companies by GWI, by population count, and we have done these largest and first of its kind PPP projects in India in the sector of drinking water as well as wastewater. So this is a large picture that we are operating in 7 states of India. We have 42 plants which are operational right now, and like we have all the kinds like PPP, hybrid annuity model, the pure EPC and O&M, or only O&M and rehabilitation. So all type of plants are there as of now, and as we are growing, we have the first 24/7 project where we have done it with Veolia as a 50-50 joint venture. There we were treating 785 MLD of water and servicing 325,000 house service connections, which we replaced all the meters, benefiting almost 2 million people of Nagpur. We have recently disinvested from this project after 8 years of operation. Another that 200 MLD, I have already spoken that we are supplying 190 MLD treated water to the thermal power station nearby. We are doing smart metering projects in Mumbai, and recently we have started our first overseas project in Maldives. Yeah, anyway, that was some of the recognition from the Prime Minister of India as the best practice for the drinking water project of Nagpur, and some of the other recognitions for the sewage treatment and reuse project. What we offer as a company is that we are open for joint manufacturing in India. We will be happy to co-invest in such facilities here. We also are interested in bringing technologies, maybe as a product here, and because we have offices all across India and relationships in place, so we would like to utilize them more. If there are new areas where there are opportunities and we required, we will do the investments, and we have the management bandwidth to do that. In the joint project execution in India as well as overseas, we have a very good team of execution, and that we can utilize. Design centers, a lot of companies have design centers in India who do all their designs internationally. So that is a very cost-effective way of having a design technical manpower. Of course, if investments in the PPP projects in India, there is a large opportunity, and we will also be, establishing a platform for that, wherein we will commit, our own 100 crores and then ask other people to join in for funding the Indian water sector programs on PPP basis. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lakhani, for your very interesting presentation. I mean, you're doing a lot of things, and I would like to really mention what is, I can not only reiterate it, you're interested in to potentially work with Austrian companies. We certainly appreciate the offer and an invitation to all our participants to touch base with Swaraj Environment if they are contemplating this idea of finding a strong partner. To have a strong partner in India, we've heard this is very, very important to be successful in the institutional sector. I'm just looking whether we received a question here. Let's see. Dear Mr. Lakhani, have you submitted any plans to the GUI for the Yamuna River, which is an integral part of the NCR and runs through the city of Agra too? If yes, then please do share in brief.
We interact with NITI Aayog on various subjects, where whatever field experience that we have gathered, we share with them. But Yamuna was definitely discussed many times. But as a proposal, we have not submitted any proposal to them.
Okay. I would like to also, there is a question came up for Mr. Bhardwaj. Mr. Bhardwaj, are you with us? You have mentioned one of our viewers says retrofitting of sewerage networks is one of the priorities. And the question is whether you, what type of retrofitting or rehabilitation is mostly necessary? Do the complete the sewerage pipe have to be replaced entirely, or are modern technologies like rehabilitating the existing pipe from inside with robots and so forth, is this also an option in India? So I don't know, Mr. Lakhani can take also all these questions, this question if you like, but
yeah, in fact, we all know that the urban areas which were very old, perhaps maybe 100 or 150-year-old, and were ruled under the British period. At that time also, there were some kind of sewerage system. Now, those sewers were the brick-lined sewers, and over the years got filled up. Certainly, later on, the modern system of sewerage system also laid down. And what we experienced, especially to the big cities, and even if we refer to Delhi, perhaps a major share, I won't go with the percentages, but a major share of sewage does not reach the sewage treatment plants. So therein, the rehabilitation of sewerage system is required, but without digging and perhaps with ease of disturbing the setup. So maybe the areas which are densely populated in the old city areas, they require some kind of rehabilitation without disturbing the property and damage to the property. But the trunk sewers as well also require rehabilitation because they are settled, and perhaps one has to understand about the runoff conditions in India, because here dry period is longer, and therein even after sweeping the silt etc. from the roadside even pushes back to the sewer lines. So this is something is required.
thank you very much. There has been also, Mr. Lakhani, you mentioned the PPP projects you are involved in, and they are gaining in importance, this type of projects. Can you elaborate just a little bit and explain to our viewers what I mean duration periods these projects have? Because especially for new companies to the Indian market, to getting involved in a big project, of course, needs some certain, commitment. So when you mentioned Nagpur, but also others. a typical projects and what lifespan does a project have from the very beginning to the turnkey finishing. Can you give us just an idea about this project's length?
Like I said, PPP and HAM, like basically with the Namami Gange program, the first time the hybrid annuity model, which basically provides 40% of the capex upfront at the time of construction, and then 60% is provided in the next 15 years when you operate and maintain the project, and you also recover your operating cost as well as your investment and profit. So this model has been very successful in roads, and actually this was at that time the suggestion from our side to government that unless we have operators' skin in the game for longer duration, like Mr. Bhardwaj said, we have STPs but which are not operational, because the urban local body does not have their wherewithal and means and priority. I mean, it comes on their last priority because they have, their more pressing demands for water, for electricity, for so many things. So this HAM model ensures that these plants have adequate support and they will run properly. So I think Namami Gange is one program where there is opportunity for private people. The PPP program, what we have done for the Nagpur 200 million liter per day, there we have funded it 100% from the private side, but we have a very strong contract with the thermal power station. You see, without a proper contract, no banks will fund it. Basically no lenders will touch it. So having this correct balance contract where the investors are protected, that is, I think, is the key for investment. But government is realizing that, and government is also coming up with similar opportunities for the private sector, where their investment is protected by the central government, although the operating body is urban local body.
Thank you very much. I see there are at the moment again an invitation to our viewers, if you like to discuss certain questions in private, if I may say so. Of course, you can contact us individually, and we would be more than happy to answer them. Just one more remark, because you mentioned the Maldives, Mr. Lakhani. Our office, the Austrian Trade Commission in New Delhi, is in charge also for the Maldives, and apart from the Maldives, also for Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan. So if for our viewers, if you're interested in these countries, we are open for your questions you have regarding these markets. May I ask now our moderator to switch to the next slide, please? Because I don't have control. I just want to give, we have few events which are coming up in the September. We are planning trade mission in the beginning of September. It has not been confirmed yet. From the 1st to the 1st of September, a trade mission which will happen in a virtual mode, like this webinar here, on renewable energy in India. And in September as well, from the 28th to the 30th September, we are planning a catalog exhibition in Mumbai at the IFAD India, one of the biggest environmental shows in India. So a very good opportunity to participate in a trade, in an important trade fair, and make the first contacts. I would like also to invite you. We have our head office has just launched a web. I wish I could have showed it to you, but it's called export radar. Export radar, if you just type it in, you can Google it, export radar, WKOAT. It gives you, it features the world map, and you can click on each country, and you will get to know, the most important parameters economic-wise on specific, market opportunities, the Corona situation, and the activities our colleagues and we have planning in our case in India, in these regions and in specific countries. This is I'd like to leave you with, yeah, I think this brings us to the end of our seminar. Yeah, now you can see our future events. Yeah, for your reference, and also the export radar. That is the next slide. If you can ask the moderator to go to the next slide. The export radar. Yes, here you can see it now. This is how it looks like. Again, you just have to Google it. You click on the respective countries, and it gives you all the different, parameters, which are, so to say, first-hand information to get hold on specific markets, countries you might be interested in. With this, I would leave it with that. Again, the entire seminar will be available on YouTube. We will send you the links, and I hope you will enjoy it also in this respect. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like to thank all our presenters today. It was very interesting. And to our viewers, please contact us. We're looking forward to hear from you, to get to know you and help you to get a foothold or a stronghold here on this very interesting and thriving market. India, the 5th biggest economy in the world. Thank you very much and all the best, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.